Hello everybody, welcome to Little Rusty Bucket. Subscribe to the channel and drop a like on this video. Trying to hit 30k subscribers, so your subscription would be much appreciated. In today's video, I want to talk about Damian Lillard and what his free agency might look like going forward. It might be very well possible that just no NBA team is going to sign Damian Lillard for this upcoming year, obviously given the fact that he's not going to be available to play. You could also look at it as having him there gives you it makes it a more natural fit when he does eventually return, and it's going to probably be for a very minuscule amount of money for a team that's also not really looking to be that great right now. So I would not be shocked if a few teams were like, let's just sign him to a 2-year contract, feel secure that we're going to be able to get him when he returns, and hopefully he can be more naturalized to the roster itself. There have been multiple talks from a few different teams about potentially signing Dame, and he makes for one of the most compelling wild card free agents that I think has ever existed. He has the potential to go dramatically change an NBA team for a very minuscule price. Now, obviously, at the age that he is at, as a smaller guard who has very clearly declined athletically speaking before this Achilles tear even ended up happening, that does make you worry, will Damian Lillard be any good when he returns? There is certainly a very real risk that is not the case. But the positive here is that if you're going to be signing Damian Lillard, you are very much doing it with that risk in mind, rather than just dealing with those consequences on some dire scale. It's like you sign him to a 2-year, $18 million deal. If that $18 million ends up just being an idea and not actually transpiring and Damian Lillard being any good, that's really not that big of a deal for an NBA team to deal with. It is very much a low-risk, high-reward type of situation, and teams that are a little bit more on the cusp of desperation are certainly going to be up for doing something like that. So I wanted to talk about a few different teams who could add him and what those teams might look like in a year from now. So it's very, very speculative. It's very possible that every single sentence in this video ages poorly, but we're going to talk about a bunch of different teams and why they would potentially be interested. The number one team that I have seen actual reports that they are pursuing possibly Damian Lillard is the Boston Celtics, and apparently there is some mutual interest there. And I think that makes a lot of sense. First of all, I believe he was very good friends with Anthony Simons. He has that in there. I believe he was also friendly with Jason Tatum. I don't remember where I'm getting that from, but there's some dudes on the team that he's familiar with that he likes. And they also are going to be dealing with a year-long rehab of an Achilles tear for Jason Tatum. So maybe him and Tatum could together be the Achilles buddies and recover their Achilles together, go through the different treatments together and all that stuff. That would certainly be interesting, and it would definitely be a way to bridge some chemistry there without actually doing anything, really. It would add some firepower to this team. Obviously, the three-point shooting thing is a very key element for the Boston Celtics, and between him and Simons, and Jason Tatum potentially with a return if Simons would also return, that's a whole lot of three-point shooting. It's also a backcourt of two players who don't play defense worth dick, and that was obviously a very key factor in their championship run, but there is room for it there. I do like the idea. Also would mean that you can have another guy who's a more prominent ball handler, someone who, again, if Dame does recover pretty well, would be have more scoring punch as a ball handler than like Derek White did. I imagine you would probably, just hypothetical here, Dame is good next year, not this upcoming season, but 2026, 2027. Damian Lillard, Jaylen Brown, Jason Tatum, figure it out with the bigs, Anthony Simons off of the bench. That's compelling. There's some interesting stuff there for sure. So they seem to be the most likely team. Of course, like with anyone else, the Lakers are also rumored to be interested in Damian Lillard. That would be the type of move that they try and make where their timeline of 2027 free agency does not have to be disrupted while potentially adding a guy who can be a real spark plug for you. Like, at the age that he's at, it's not like a guy who can be the, definitive number 2 option next to Luka Doncic going forward, but he can be for a year on a rental when you're trying to maximize the roster as much as you can without committing to it long term. That's exactly what alley Damian Lillard is running up right now. So it makes sense that that would also potentially be on the table. As for some other teams, the Portland Trailblazers is one that's been talked about quite a bit just because of the idea of him mentoring some of those younger guys. It's obviously not the potential championship route, but it is at the very least one where he can have a major impact in a way that doesn't just feel like he's taking up a roster spot to wait around for a year. I think that Dame could have a profoundly important impact on a lot of players in Portland. That veteran leadership, who knows Portland more than Damian fucking Lillard? It would be a really nice fit just from that point of view. And then I do think that his on the court presence could also be a very big positive for them going into the year following that. So I like the idea of him going to Portland a lot as well. The Miami Heat are the other team I put in the thumbnail because they are apparently very interested. I do not know that Damian Lillard will be particularly interested because their championship window is very much closed. When he said he wanted to go to Miami, that was with the idea of Jimmy Butler being there in mind. I don't think Andrew Wiggins rather, quite sells that same pitch. So I don't really think that's the one that he will go with, but if he was really eager to go to Miami specifically because he just wanted to be in Miami, then I guess I can't say that that's a bad choice for him. Teams that are young, teams that are not expecting to be particularly good are not really going to be in this equation. And teams that are deep at the point guard position, or at least have like a excellent point guard, are also probably not really going to be on the table. So like we can get rid of the Nets, the Knicks. The Philadelphia 76ers would be interesting. I do think Tyrese Maxey really just is their point guard at that point, but like maybe there's the idea that you can play him at the 2. I don't really like that, however. Toronto Raptors, nah. I think they're going with the youth movement there. They're going to try and be competitive, but like with the guys that they already have. The Chicago Bulls, I wouldn't be shocked if they made a move like that because they're apparently interested in Bradley Beal, but I would hope that Damian Lillard isn't particularly interested. Cavaliers don't make sense. Pistons don't make sense. Pacers don't make sense. Obviously, the Bucks don't make sense. Nor do the Hawks, nor do the Hornets. The Orlando Magic, that's an interesting one. I like the idea of that a lot because while I am a big Jalen Suggs guy, I always more liked the idea of him being like Celtics Drew Holiday in his role, where he's really more of a 2 guard that can play make rather than a definitive point guard. But Damian Lillard in Orlando, I think that would work quite well if he was able to recover in time. But again, we are talking about a young team, but young teams that are ready to win right now could still be interested in Damian Lillard. But I don't know. I don't feel like that one's particularly likely. The Washington Wizards, no. The Dallas Mavericks would be funny. That's honestly one that could make some sense. Like if he went to Dallas after a year of Cooper Flag, like Cooper Flag's year 2, AD is hopefully still not just like a bag of bones, and Kyrie Irving is there as well, possibly, or he's Kyrie Irving's replacement. Either way, it's interesting. I do not hate that idea. The Houston Rockets, I think I also heard that the Houston Rockets were possibly interested in Damian Lillard this upcoming year. Again, obviously he's not going to be there. That's not great, but if they have a great year with Kevin Durant, KD wants to come back, further development from the young players, and they're like, hey, Fred VanVleet, we don't feel great about him as our starting point guard. What if we had Damian fucking Lillard and now we have like another all-star guy possibly? That would be very, very interesting. Also, the other benefit of signing Damian Lillard now rather than waiting for this year to pass for him to recover from his injury is that you also have the inside scoop in how good he looks in these workouts, in these different like medical evaluations. Like you can have an idea of how much investment you should have in Dame for when he does return based on having direct insight on what his recovery process looked like rather than hearing about it through word of mouth. So I do think that that is another great reason to take him on now. Grizzlies, don't think that makes sense. The Pelicans, not really. I don't think that would really happen, but maybe. Spurs, no. They just drafted a point guard and they have De'Aaron Fox and Stephon Castle. Like, there's no guard room there. The Sacramento Kings, I think I also heard. I hate that. Don't do it. It could happen, but please don't. Phoenix, nah, not really. Because the thing is, like, maybe Dame would just super value going somewhere where he can ensure he gets the most shots up. But I don't really think that that needs to be the top factor. It really doesn't. At least I wouldn't hope that that's his top factor. I would hope he cares more about just going to a team where he could possibly win a championship, Portland being the exception to that, although Portland is on the upswing. I don't think they're going to be a contender 2 years from now. The Clippers, did I mention the Clippers? I don't think that makes a lot of sense. The Warriors, obviously, no. Denver potentially makes some sense. I don't hate the idea of him in Denver. I think him and Jamal Murray could play together a lot, and he could also make up for some of Jamal Murray's deficiencies as a on-ball creator. The Timberwolves could potentially be interesting. They don't have a solid option at the point guard, Rob Dillingham, and a very aging Mike Conley. The OKC Thunder, no. And the Utah Jazz, no. So basically, I have Portland, Minnesota, Denver, LA, the Lakers to be specific, Houston, Dallas, Orlando, Miami, Boston, and I don't even think I want to say Philly. So yeah, those are the teams that I think make some sense for Damian Lillard. Let me know what you think in the comments down below. What is the most interesting possible outcome here? A whole lot of speculation, but that's what this channel is for. Shout out to Nick for editing this video, and goodbye.